All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Michael Dash. Michael, welcome. So awesome to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I'm looking forward to it. Nothing I like better than talking about relationships.
Amen. I'm with you 100% on that. And I want to I want to start off. I want to give a shout out to Vince Cavino because Vince was the one that introduced you and I. And I'll tell you, man, I love Vince. I love who he is. I love how he shows up. That guy, not only is he just really brilliant, but he is just, man, he's all heart too. He's got one of the biggest hearts and is just, it has been such an honor getting to know him. And so when he messaged me or messaged us and said, hey, you guys need to connect. I mean, anything that would come from Vince, I'm 100% in on. So,
Let's go. Let's go. I echo that sentiment.
yeah. And you know what a testament right there to the power of right relationships. And of course, that's what this podcast is all about. And so what I'd like to do, Michael, is I want to turn it over to you so we can set some context here. I want you to be able to talk about and share what you do and who you serve and what inspires you most about the work you're doing and the impact you're making in the world. And also be sure to share your backstory as well, because I want to make sure people get to hear your backstory.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Kevin. I'm going to start with what inspires me the most. What really I
All right.
consider myself a super connector. And from one super connector talking to another, Kevin, because I know this is part of your genius. Um, there brings me no higher level of joy, and I'm not exaggerating, than
Mm.
introducing two people that I know in my network, putting them together and sometimes getting out of the way and watching them just bring magic to the world, whether it's
Yeah.
them as a partnership, whether it's them as a couple, whether it's them as a employer employee, whether it's them as friends traveling the world. I've been doing this my whole life. Even before I knew I was actually doing it, I was actually doing it. That's how natural it came to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I run retreats now, and I'll tell you, I've run 6 retreats in the last, like, I run 1 or 2 retreats a year. In the last
Okay.
5 years, I've run 6 retreats focused on entrepreneurs and aligning our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual practice with our vision and our mission in life. And I mention that because a couple of my closest friends, the first retreat I ran, I brought all of them there. Nobody knew who I was
Uh-huh.
besides my circle, right? So it wasn't marketing or anything. I just brought the people I knew together. They
Okay.
didn't know each other. They have created, that's 6 years ago. There's been 3 businesses out of that created. There's been a relationship out of that created. And more importantly, there's been best friendships created where we have all, like 7 or 8 of us, have, out of 21 people there, have traveled the world together and been to like 4 or 5 different places in the last
Wow.
6 years. And
Wow.
that brings me such joy
Yeah.
that it's really hard to replicate in any business deal or any other area of my life.
Wow. You know what? I can relate to that so much, and I get goosebumps hearing you talk about that because the same thing. It's like, it brings me so much joy and satisfaction bringing amazing people together. And man, I feel every bit of that, Michael. And so, and it's just so now that you've shared this, now I want to dig just a little bit deeper. And like, you don't necessarily have to share names or anything like that. But what's just because I'm sure you come up with tons of examples because you make connections like this all the time. But what's
Sure.
an example of a connection that you've made that just like you were just like really incredibly proud of, and what did they go on to do and stuff?
So my friend Heath Yin,
Okay.
okay, he is a entrepreneur extraordinaire out of Tennessee, in the Nashville area, very tied in with startups. and is like a master at writing grants and winning grants and stuff. He
Okay.
came to one of my retreats. He met my good friend Shelley Winner and her husband Jeremiah Dupree.
Okay.
Shelley Winner did 5 years in prison. She came out of prison on some like meth or something.
Okay.
She had a addiction, just like I had 20 years of addiction in my life as well. And she came out of prison, and I met her volunteering in the prison system because I do a lot of that. And so that's how I connected with her and Jeremiah, and we became instant friends. And she told me she had a mission to help the formerly incarcerated, well, the current incarcerated, with education systems that they start training while they're incarcerated, and then to help them transition out and connect them with companies that will hire formerly incarcerated. There are not a lot of them. There's most companies, you're arrested, you're done. They won't even look at
Okay.
you,
Okay.
which is a travesty. Because imagine, Kevin, if you were judged your entire life by the worst thing you ever did. Just imagine that. I know what would happen for me. I would never get a chance anywhere. So anyway, Shelley Winter has come out of this system. She actually got a job at Microsoft. They rescinded her offer when they saw she had a record. She
Okay.
fought them. She fought them with a lawyer, and she won. And she got her job at Microsoft, and she became the number one salesperson for her department in the world.
Wow.
In the world, right? She has since left Microsoft to start Winner's Circle with Heath. They
Wow.
met at my retreat. They
Wow.
met at my retreat, and they are building this organization together. And now I've transitioned them into the Impact Accelerator Circle that I'm helping Vince and
Yep.
Sati and
Yep.
build. So
Yep.
now they're part of that community.
Wow.
So it's just makes me so proud. And I imagine that when the right time comes, I'll be sitting on the board, right? And I'll be helping because this is a cause that really is close to my heart. So
Yeah.
that is the one that brings that I'm proudest of. There's several
Wow.
others as well, several others just like that. And you can't make it up. You just can't.
Yeah. 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 I mean, what an amazing story that is. And you're right, you can't make this stuff up. And you know, when like-minded people come together, and we like-minded people. So I view like-minded people as, you know, there's a few things, there's four key things that have to be in place. There has to be trust in character and trust in competence. And then there's also got to be an alignment of interest and alignment of values. And when those four things are present, that's this, we come right to this intersection, this sweet spot where we start collaborating and co-creating from there. And what we can ultimately come up with, what we can ultimately do is so much bigger than what any of them could have done on their own. Look at what they're being able to accomplish together now. And man, that's the juice right there. That's the magic right there. And man, I'm really glad I asked you about that, because what a great example. Because you were talking about how incredibly rewarding and how fulfilling and how you love doing this, and I totally get it. But when, you know, when we explain and share an example like that, man, people get it. It's like, oh yeah, man, I'd love doing that too if I could do that. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
that is awesome. That is awesome. So, what? Okay, so you're hosting these retreats. What's your vision for this going forward from here, Michael?
So the retreats are a passion project of mine. I imagine I'm going to continue doing them in a different format. I've been doing them in Costa Rica. I imagine I'm going to be bringing them here to Austin, Texas. And that's a vision that will just keep going on. It's actually, they're called Live Life Activated. I'm
Okay.
wearing an activated shirt right now in representation of it. And come from a background. I think why I'm so good at this is I come from a background of recruiting and staffing.
Okay.
And I was in the space for 20 years and had my own business for 13. And basically, what you're doing is matchmaking. You have
Yes.
these companies that are looking for this talent, and you're the person in the middle who's bringing them together.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of natural training to be able to be a super connector and do that. So when after I got out of that business, I was in Tulum, Mexico for the last 4.5 years, and I've just recently relocated. And the gentleman you mentioned, Vince Cavino, I have joined the team there. And since you and I talked, this has transpired. And I'm working with him and Satyam in building an impact accelerator. It's called the Impact Accelerator.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're bringing in entrepreneurs. We're looking for funding and we're matching them. Well, we're training them first to be in a position to receive funding, know what they're asking for, their MVPs, all the technical jargon
Yep.
that you need. And we're matching them with heart-centered investors who are looking to make an impact in the world. Yes, they want their ROI, but there's got to be more behind that, right?
Yep.
And what's behind that is making this world a better place, right? In
Yes.
whatever industry it might be.
Yeah.
And opening that consciousness, that heart center, that heart center up and being impact driven and us being a steward of that. And so
Yes.
that's what I'm currently focused on right now. And I'm really, really excited about it because, I started my own business and I really don't want to start another business. Right. I would rather join a powerful team and amplify what we could do together,
Yeah.
which is just like you said before, much more than we can do on our own. So
Yeah.
now by bringing these companies together with these investors and us being advisors in the middle, like we can just amplify what we're doing and take a 10-year plan and make it a 3-year plan
Yeah.
and really, really make an impact in the world. We're going through an interesting time right now, and there is a lot of things that are in transition. And if you're in it, then you know about it. And if you're out of it, you don't know. You think everything is going to hell in a handbasket. But when you're inside of it, you can see all the magic that's happening, that's
Yeah.
bubbling up from the
Yeah.
surface. And what is at the root of that? Connection, community, and support of one another and humans, right? And being authentic with each other and growing together and treating each other like family, not like it's some transactional relationship.
That's
And
right.
I'm sure you've been a part of those. Nobody
Yeah.
likes those. Well, we don't, as super connectors, we don't like those.
That's right. That's right. Amen. Wow. That's really exciting. That's really exciting. And well, okay, so now that we've got some context set here, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit and I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of our listeners that I want to ask is, so Michael, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person or persons? And I'm just really excited to hear your story and your experience around this topic of relationships.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And we spoke briefly about this
Yes.
before. I don't resonate with the terminology, so I'm just going to
Yep.
share my perspective
Yeah.
quickly on it. Like, have you been introduced to somebody who changed your life? I don't believe anybody can change your life except you.
Uh-huh.
So I'm the only one who could change my life. Now, have I been introduced to people who have shifted my perspective, who have laid out another path that I could travel and then picked up that baton and traveled that path? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, there's something that just gets with me when someone's like, "Oh, I just had the most life-changing experience." I'm like, "How do you know?" Right? It
That's
just
right.
happened. Yeah,
It,
it just
you
what do you
you've
mean?
got to have some
It's
track record in between to know that it was that, you know.
a
And
hundred
that's a
percent.
huge distinction you made there.
Yeah, 100%. Like you could have what you think is a life-changing experience, but if you take no action after that, then it's not a life-changing experience. It's just an experience.
That's right.
And so it's really all about what each and every one of us and anybody listening actually does with that experience that can make it life altering, that
Yeah.
can make it super impactful. So I don't know if anybody's answered this question this way before, but I'll tell you the first person I was introduced to that shifted things for me,
Okay.
it was my father.
All right. Okay.
So my father was an entrepreneur And so he trained me as an entrepreneur as a child.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I was working for my father since 8 years old.
Okay.
And so I learned about sales. I learned about relationships. I learned about schmoozing, as he would call it. You got to
Yeah.
schmooze them, Michael. You got to schmooze them. I'm like, okay. And this is what he sounded like in my mind. And so he had a retail store and an import export business around collectibles like Swarovski, if you're familiar with that, Yajo, Baccarat, Waterford, all this stuff,
Okay.
China, Royal Dalton, all this stuff that really isn't in, except for Swarovski, the rest of it's not really that popular anymore. But
Yeah.
in the 80s, it was super popular. That was
Yeah.
the thing to do.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was crafted and I learned in a way that gave me this entrepreneurial spirit that knew, and this salesmanship that knew that that was going to be my direction. I didn't know what it would be or how it would be. He wanted me to take the business over. I absolutely did not want to do that and did not. And That's eventually what I became, though. So I became an entrepreneur. So that's life altering,
Yeah.
because for sure. So I want to start off honoring my father, who's 93 years old. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And even though, yeah, there's a lot we can say about our parents and all the trauma and all this and all that. And at the end of the day, they did the best with
Yep.
what they had. I
Yep.
imagine they did the best with what they had. And for my father, our connection was through entrepreneurship and sales. So he is the first person, and I'm going to take
Okay.
a deep breath before I answer the next person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to never breathe. I would just talk and talk and talk.
Gotcha.
It's important to like just recalibrate my nervous system as I get
Yes.
on a roll
Yeah.
so that I can ground back into the actual conversation. And it's not just me rattling a story off I've told 100 times, but my heart actually is feeling connected to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you. So I'm going to tell you there's been several people who've shifted my perspective, but I'm going to name one more person
Okay.
who's much more recent.
Okay.
The gentleman's name is Soleil Rad, and I met him in Tulum, Mexico. He was doing men's work, so he was running men's groups,
Okay.
where men would be able to express the challenges they were going through, the shadows that they were avoiding, the
Mhm.
darkest secrets that they weren't telling anybody, and also the celebrations that they had with others. And he taught me a new perspective on prayer
Okay.
that allowed me to re engage my connection to God.
Mm. Mm.
And for that, I'll be ever grateful, because I was born in a religion, like most people in some sort of religion. I was born in Judaism. I was, you know, put into some Hebrew school to learn a language I had no connection to do a big party called a bar mitzvah, which I heard, hey, if you do all this, you get a big party. So I was like, all right, I love parties, I'll do it. But I had no connection to it. And so I really disconnected from all religion. And I won't say I disconnected from God, but I just took it as for granted.
Mhm.
And I was in this mindset that anything religious in any religion, it didn't matter. I didn't want to hear about it.
Okay. All right.
And recently, and within the last 3 years, he reintroduced me to looking at God as a business partner. And
Mm.
I never like thought about it that way.
Yeah.
And that like asking God for what you want and then showing God, well, first giving gratitude, but then asking God for what you want in your life and then showing God that you're taking the action so that he, she, whatever you want to call God, that I'll say he for now, that he will recognize it and present miracles in front of you, as small as they might be.
Mm.
And that blew my mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's not what we're taught. in
No,
religion.
no.
We're taught to beg for
Yeah,
forgiveness,
yeah,
to beg for what's something we want, but not to equate it as an equal.
yeah.
And when you start down the spiritual route, which I've gone down, a lot of people talk about, no, you are God. Like you are God. God is inside of you. God is
Yep,
inside of me. God's inside of all of us. We are actually God, which took a little time for me to wrap my head around.
yep,
But
yep.
okay, if we're on that premise, then I'm an equal to God. God and I are equals. So let's have a partnership.
Mhm, mhm.
And that allowed me to shift my perspective on prayer and to start praying regularly, um, just throughout the day. Pray,
Yep.
be great, be more grateful. Be grateful for my food. Be grateful for the house I have. Be
Yeah.
grateful that this person just turned down the business deal that I just presented to them. Be grateful. Be grateful I just got cut off.
Mhm.
Why would you be great? Be grateful the police pulled me over. Like, why would I be grateful about those things? Because, hey, there's people in Africa who can't even eat. They don't even have food,
Yeah.
right? And not just Africa. I just named Africa. I've been there several times. And it's that attitude of gratitude that allowed me to retrain my whole nervous system to really not let many, I don't want to say any, I don't want to exaggerate, but many people trigger me. I rarely get triggered now, and I used to get triggered all the time.
Okay.
And because I grew up in the East Coast, it was just like a banter thing almost. And people would needle you and stuff. That's what they did. Um, and but it's allowed me to have a completely different perspective. And it was this person and his teachings that allowed me to take that step forward in that
Yeah.
belief, and then start even studying the Kabbalah, which is not religious, but it does come from the Jewish religion, but it's not a Jewish thing per se. It's for all religion. There's Muslims who study it, Catholics who study it, Protestants. And Jews, and it's a spiritual kind of playbook of how to interpret life, and it's all about training your vessel to receive, like putting yourself in a position to receive the light from God.
Mhm, mhm.
So anyway, without going down this path any further, he allowed me to shift my perspective and my relationship with prayer and with God, and just be like take the appreciation I had and amplify it
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
a much bigger degree.
Yeah. Wow. You packed so much in there. And you know what was coming, I had probably about, I don't know, 3, 4, or 5 months ago, I interviewed this guy Marcus Collius for the podcast, and that was an amazing interview. And afterwards, when him and I were talking, after we finished recording, we stayed on Zoom and we're talking, and he starts just asking me a few more questions about this whole thing of me being a connector, and he was just kind of asking questions about it, and he points it out to me, and he's like, Kevin, he's like, I'm just going to put this out there, and he's like, he's like, this work that you do, he's like, this is like the Holy Spirit working through you, because you're allowing it, and you're just allowing yourself to be the vessel that the Holy Spirit works through. And he's like, and I believe that
Wow.
100%, that that's how you make all these connections and stuff. And that's how your mind can just see stuff that other people can't. And that you're able to make these kind of connections. And you do it so frequently. I mean, I do it almost every day, maybe not on weekends, but when if I'm working during the day, Monday through Friday mostly, I'm talking with entrepreneurs, and my mind just works that way. I just start piecing stuff together. And ever since he said that, in fact, as soon as he said that, I just felt this shift. And it wasn't like things weren't going well already. They were going really well. But then now I'm just kind of like, ever since then, I'm like, like what you talked about, this partnership. And whether somebody wants to call it God, the Holy Spirit, the universe, what have you, when we are just tied in, and we recognize that we do have this partnership, it kind of changes our perspective. It certainly changed my perspective in that, every conversation I have, I'm just here to be me, and I'm here to be the best steward I can of the time I get to spend with someone, the relationships that I have with people, and I've always been that way. And I just want to be the best steward that I can. And I will tell you that just bigger and bigger things keep happening as a result of that. I continue to get connected with absolutely amazing entrepreneurs who are doing just amazing things. And the work you're doing, both through your retreats and through this thing that you're doing with Vince and Satyan and stuff. I mean, man, I've already been hearing about that, and I've introduced a couple other people to Vince that have got involved too and stuff, and they're telling me about it. Like, man, Kev, thanks so much for connecting us with Vince. And it's just allowing all of you to just use your God-given gifts and abilities to serve others. And I mean, I'm just like totally stoked to hear about the impact that comes from this event coming up that you guys have going and stuff. And when we kind of look at it like that, we are we're the vessel, and we get to use our God-given gifts and abilities to the best of our ability to serve the people that we care about in our life and stuff, whether that's like-minded entrepreneurs, whether it's our friends, whether it's our family, whoever that is. And man, I just love what you were sharing there. And man, it just really hit home. And I can tell, just how much of an impact that's had on you, and just what's going on around you, and the conversations you're in, and the things taking place as a result of you having this new perspective, this new insight and stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I know that the right people are being brought to me for a reason. I don't need to know the reason now. It'll unveil itself at the right time.
Yes.
And if you can um, believe that in your heart, if you can trust that in your heart, then you can continue to just flow and just keep building and building and building, and not be so focused on me,
That's
but
right.
focused on we.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because, yeah, we can accomplish so much more together than any of us can possibly accomplish on our own. And you're right. It's not about me. It's about, I like that. We,
Mhm.
us.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So for anybody who's listening to this right now and going, man, Kevin, I really like Michael. Man, I love who he is. I love how he shows up. And I'd like to find out more about some of the stuff that he's been sharing here. Any resources, any websites we can share that in case somebody might want to follow up with you and learn more?
Hey, if they want to follow up with me, connect with me. I could send you my web page. I could send you my Instagram and LinkedIn and all that, and I know you'll do it in the show notes. But connect with me. I'll give you my phone number right now. Send me a message. I dare someone to send me a message. It, it's 917-584-5734. I would love to connect with you. I would love to, if this conversation lights you up, it'll light me up. So I would love to see how we can support each other. I'm sure whoever reaches out to me is doing amazing things in the world, and I am as well. So yeah, let's collaborate. Of course, you can look me up on all the socials, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. My website, it's michaelg-.com. Um, but the best way is literally to just reach out to me.
Yeah.
Reach
Yeah.
out on my phone. On my phone, I would love to connect on
Awesome.
regular SMS or WhatsApp, or just not Telegram.
Just not Telegram. Okay.
Well, I only check it once a week, so I'm not as active on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's all right. That's
I also wrote a book called Chasing the High, and
okay.
it's my journey through addiction, 20 years of addiction, a 6-year legal battle, and then how I really, and all my entrepreneurship journey, and then how I changed my life around. Um,
Wow.
excuse me, starting on a retreat in Bali in 2016.
Oh,
Everything shifted for me then, and yeah, I'm super grateful. So it's Chasing the High. It's on Amazon and Audible. I read it myself on Audible. So if you can handle a Jersey accent for 4 hours, get it on Audible.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. I'm just taking a couple notes here. All right.
Great.
Um, any last thing that you feel led to share, Michael, before we call it a wrap?
Um, yeah, I'm feeling called to share to the shy people out there
Okay.
who maybe hesitate to go up to somebody and introduce themselves.
Mhm. Mhm.
To step through that fear, because that fear is what holds back the magic that we're talking about. It holds us back from the magic we're talking about. And if you're intimidated by somebody, that's even more reason to walk up and introduce yourself to them, because I imagine the story that's playing in your mind is completely false about the person you're about to step into, to connect with.
Yeah.
We all tell ourselves stories all the time, and our minds are so powerful. We can convince ourselves of anything,
Yeah.
good, bad, or ugly, right?
Yeah.
And especially like, oh, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to bother that person. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. It's not a bother, right? Honor yourself. If your intuition is telling you I should speak to that person, go ahead and speak to them.
Go do it. Yeah.
Go speak to them. And instead of leading with what you do and what you do, come up with an inquisitive question or two
That's right.
and ask them, what brings you? Hi, I'm so and so. It's great to meet you. Are you open to a question? Yeah. What brings you joy in life?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a great one to start with.
That
Not
is a
what do
great
you
question.
not what do you do? Where are you
Yeah.
from?
Yeah.
Like, what brings you joy in life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a great opener, right?
Yeah.
And then you can get into all the other stuff. And if you struggle with questions like that, use ChatGPT. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That is such amazing advice right there. Because yeah, if we feel like we have to come up with stuff to talk about, especially if we are kind of more shy or introverted or what have you, if we feel like we have to be the ones to come up with stuff to talk about, we're like, man, what am I going to possibly talk about? And it
Yeah.
places a lot of weight on our shoulders. It doesn't need to be there. And when we just do what you said, I mean, that one question right there, we just start asking people a question and let them talk. And I will tell you, you ask somebody the question that you just said, Michael, people are going to start getting animated. They're going to be talking about what brings them joy, and as you're listening to them share, now you can just ask more questions of them based on what they just shared with you and stuff. And I'll tell you, I do this all the time. And because I love talking with entrepreneurs, I love hearing about what they're working on. I love hearing about what opportunities have got them all jazzed and fired up. I love hearing about what challenges and problems they're dealing with too and stuff, because my brain just naturally defaults to who do I know that might be able to help them and stuff. And so I just ask them these questions, and then I do what I just was saying. Is like, as they're sharing with me, I'm like, well, you talked about this. How does, and I'll ask another question about that and dig deeper with them. And, I'll tell you, I cannot tell you. I mean, I've done this so many times, but I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, I was at an event in San Diego, and we were on a 15-minute break, the last day of this particular event in the afternoon, and I was talking with this guy, and I asked him a question, and we started talking. He started sharing with me, and for the whole 15-minute break, he was just sharing with me. And then it was come time to start the event again, and he said, "Kevin," he said, "Man, I feel really bad." I'm like, "Why is that?" And he's like, "Well, I spent the whole time talking about me, and I didn't find anything out about you." And I'm like, "Oh, that's all right, Jim." I said, "You know what? Maybe tonight we go grab dinner or something, and we can sit and talk some more and stuff." He said, "Kevin, I would love that." And since then, I mean, we have become very good friends. I didn't know it at the time. That event was down in San Diego. On my way out of town, I met a friend of mine for lunch who did not attend that event, and he and I got together for lunch. I ended up through that conversation. He told me that Kevin, you should really consider hosting a podcast, and he told me why he felt that way. And I'm like, man, I'm hearing you. And I'm like, and we dug into that more. And I'm like, man, by the time we got done, I'm like, Brad, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go home next week. I'm going to start reaching out to some entrepreneur friends. I'm just telling them what I'm thinking of doing. And I'm just going to ask if they'll hop on Zoom and have a conversation with me and stuff. And so we started doing that. And here we are 3 years later, over 300 episodes released, and hosting this podcast has been hands down the most rewarding and impactful thing I have done in my 30 years as an entrepreneur. And
Wow.
that guy at that event that I hadn't even started the podcast yet, but we got to know, and I found out that he had a company that they produce podcasts and stuff. And so later the next week, when I'm starting to have this experience, I ended up reaching back out to him to say, hey, you know what? Last week, I wasn't even hosting a podcast, wasn't anywhere even on my radar when we talked, but now it is less than a week later, and they've been producing my podcast ever since.
Amazing. Amazing. I might need an introduction because you're giving me inspiration to start mine.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, I'll tell you, Michael, I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation, just share from your heart. And man, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. And I'm excited to share this with a lot of other entrepreneurs. So thanks once again.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to connecting with some of the entrepreneurs in your network.
Absolutely.